This is the Nintendo Super Famicom, basically their version of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I love collecting for the system. Not only do I love the aesthetics of it and the Super Nintendo Junior, but I also love the fact that the games are generally a lot less expensive on this compared to the US version. The problem is you can't play the games from this on the US version, and you can't play the US version's games on this because of the way that Nintendo deliberately shaped the cartridges, where basically, if I pop out the Super Famicom cartridge here, the Super NES one physically won't fit in. And the same is true with a Super Famicom cartridge on a Super Nintendo. That is, until now. See, one of the things that I've wanted to do for the longest time is develop a way that you can take a US-based system and play Japanese-based games on it, and I have done it. I am proud to introduce my new NEStoration line of video game accessories, and the first thing that I've released is our NEStoration Super NES to Super Famicom Junior region-free tray. And what I'm going to do for you here, I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to install and give you some highlights on how you can go ahead and get the most out of your Super Nintendo Junior. Let's get started. So here we have our Super NES Junior on the bench, and just a few of the prototypes I went through. This was actually the very first one, and the issue that I ran into is for some reason I had these two slots mirrored, so this was no good. And then coming through on this one here, like, this is really rough. Didn't really care for that, but it was closer. Each step got us, a little bit closer here. And one of the things I kept coming back to is, were these posts here even necessary? And I don't think they are. So we ended up removing them altogether. As I moved on, I also changed the way that I was printing, where instead of printing this side down and having a whole lot of support material in here and here, because you can't print over thin air, I started printing them this way and supporting here, here, and here. And each one got me a little bit closer. And these also did not have the little tabby-doos on the bottom until we got to the final piece here. Now this is a final prototype. There's still a little bit of stringing on here I need to clean up, but overall this is what the production version will look like, although the production version will not be available in this color. I'll be doing either white, black, or gray, or purple. So what's the issue here we're trying to address? So inside the original cartridge tray, you have this tab here and that tab there. And basically what that does is it lines up with the tabs in the back of a Super NES cartridge, so it will pop right in. You can kind of see them still in the background there and how it keys into the back of the cartridge. Well, a Super Famicom cartridge doesn't have those at all, so you can't get around them. The main thing here is creating this whole tray minus those tabs. That's really it. And that's where the NEStoration region-free mod for the Super NES Junior kind of comes into play. Simpler in a lot of different ways, a little bit lighter. Now, to do the installation, you really only need two tools. You will need a game bit or a security bit and a Phillips blade screwdriver. I've got two different size Phillips blade screwdrivers here, just depending on what size screws are in the system. So to access everything, just got to flip over the system. There's just 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on the bottom side that we're going to back out. All right, with the 4 screws out, and in our parts tray that, yes, I also 3D printed with my logo, this will lift right off. We don't have to do anything with this part here. Everything we're going to do is with this part here, so I'm going to pull that aside for now. Here are the 3 screws, 1, 2, 3, that you need to unscrew. And again, they're just Phillips head. I'm going to use my Tamiya, I believe this is a number 0 Phillips head screwdriver. These things just fit metric screws so much better, and yes, there is such a thing as a metric and an SAE or an American Phillips head screwdriver. My goal here with this kit was to make it as easy to install and pain-free as possible. Now, while you are in here, if your system has some gunk and goo and other things on the inside, this is a perfect opportunity. Just take a can of compressed air, blow everything off here, blow off the other side of your system too. Now you want to be careful when you're lifting out the original tray because there's a couple springs in here to be careful of. And there's the original one there. That spring and that spring hold the door open. And now we are going to take our NEStoration Super NES Junior tray and drop it right in. Now the one thing that took me the longest to do, and I'm going to just hold this in with my hands, was making sure that those functioned properly, and they do. It legit took me probably 5 revisions just to get that. Now all that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our screws lined up here. Best tip I can give you, back the screw out and then you'll feel it take a set and then screw it back in. Now you may notice on this one, like the top of where the screws go in, a little bit rough looking. Again, this is my last prototype before my production model. The production ones will look cleaner than this. I'll probably take a bit of sandpaper to them too if there are any rough spots or high spots and knock them down too. Now, one other thing I cannot recommend highly enough. Check out Voltar's website. I'll have a link down before. He has a not a region-free mod, but an RGB mod for the Super NES Junior and the Super Famicom Junior, and it makes the visuals look so good. I have done that mod on both this system here and my Super Famicom Junior, and I've done it for some other friends as well. I did on Adam Corlick's Super Famicom Junior, and it looks so good. The mod's installed. That's all that there is to it. Now, while I have it here, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the Super Famicom cartridge now fits, and it's okay that it slides side to side. The pin connector is what will keep it aligned, and oh yeah, it still works with the Super Nintendo cartridges. That's exactly what I wanted out of this. So here we have our system all hooked back up again. We've got Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World. The US version, you can tell it's the US version because of the language that's on here. Now I'm going to go ahead, and this is my copy, my Japanese copy of Super Metroid. We're going to turn that off. Drop that right there because of course we will. Plug that in. Boom. We now have the Japanese version, the Super Famicom version, working on our Super Nintendo. I am so geeked about this, and I'm very proud of this. This is one of the things I've wanted to do for over 2 years, and the fact that it's now a reality, like, I can't wait for you folks out there to get your hands on these. Now, I also have to thank the team over at SainSmart. They sent us this here. This is the 3D Maker Pro handheld scanner. And this is what allowed me to go ahead and scan the original parts, that I could get them into my drafting software so I could go ahead and design this part for both the Super NES Junior and the Super Nintendo as well. I cannot thank them enough again. If you want to check these out, I will have a link down below where you can pick them up through Amazon. If you're into 3D printing, I gotta tell you, you need to get yourself one of these. Especially for small detail parts and whatnot, this thing has been exceptional. And again, this project would not be possible without this. Again, I'm super proud of this. I'm super geeked about this. What I like about it for me is the fact that since I do play so much between the Super NES and the Super Famicom, now I can pretty much just use one system if I wanted to. And it's one of those things that anybody will be able to use, anybody will be able to install, and anybody will be able to enjoy. Now, if you want to pick one of these up, I will have a link down below to both my website and our Etsy store. Now, Etsy, the prices are a little bit higher just because the selling and listing fees are higher on there. I hope you understand that as well. Also got to thank our Patreon and our channel members that have supported our channel, especially through the last few very difficult weeks. You guys are awesome. You have kept me going. And because of you, this is now a reality. Now, if you do want to check out some of the other mods that I've done, like Voltar's excellent RGB mod kit, cannot recommend that highly enough. I'll have that link for you right up there. Between this and that, you could have the ultimate Super Nintendo Junior.